guys, it's me. I'm back. Well, sorta. I'm back for right now. I'm hoping to be back, but I'm gonna try to keep this intro short because we got a long video to unpack. So in this video, I present to you guys 3 different ways to make homemade leg warmers. The first way is pretty easy. All you need is a jacket that has some nice arm sleeves that would make into nice leg warmers. But yeah, all you need is a jacket for the first one and your sewing machine, of course. And for the second one, you will need pants or a dress or really anything. That one you kind of get creative with. And from the last one, we're making one from scratch. I actually used a cardigan, which turned out pretty good. So you guys can see all my techniques, tips, and tricks. Timestamps are below of when the beginner, intermediate, and the advanced start. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. For the first leg warmer, the beginner, you're going to need a jacket. I'm just taking this pink Hollister one. It's good to keep in mind the size of your jacket. Having a larger size in a non-fitted jacket works best for leg warmers, especially if you want more of like a wide end. Taking scissors, you want to cut right along the seam, keeping the seam intact because that will be very helpful for sewing. And of course, I messed up like always and I went a little off the rails, but it's okay. So now we're going to be pinning. You want to fold up just a little bit and pin right on that seam that was already built into the sweater. This makes it super easy to pin and keep it all straight. So once you do that to both leg warmers, you want to go ahead and head over to your sewing machine. My cat was very annoyingly keeping me company, messing with all my string, but it's okay. She's cute, so it's fine. And you just want to do a straight stitch all the way around. Don't forget to go forwards and backwards at the start and the end of your stitch to lock everything in place. And now that you have your beautiful end seams, I just want to share a little tip that I usually end up doing to my seams. I go ahead and do a zigzag stitch along the edge, which is called an overlock stitch, just in case it comes undone. Okay y'all, so I've been thinking about the design. I decided I'm gonna take this black material. I really like this material. It's really like stretchy and it's kind of like a satin. So I want to use this material and I want to make a little patch. So I'm thinking of doing it on the side, like having a black square on the side, and then I'm gonna cut out a heart in this white fur. But I don't have a lot of this black material, so we're just gonna have to experiment and we're gonna see. So yeah, right now I'm going to cut out my little squares. This is like more of my design part. Like obviously the leg warmers, they're done. Like you can literally just cut this off, sew your own stitch, or even just cut this off and leave this seam right there and then you're good. But I want to add detail and make it fabulous. So here I am cutting the little patches. This is honestly my favorite part of making all of the pieces together, is really the part where I can get creative. And then they're pinned, voila, bam, wow. So I just did a straight stitch all the way across. I don't think I did an overlock stitch. I don't think I needed to, but yeah. And then I went ahead and added some floss detail around the edges. The fur hearts are also sewn on with floss because I didn't want to go ahead and sew them on with my machine. I feel like I want to do something else for the bottom. I want to add like ruffles or something. I don't know because I don't know what material to use yet. I have to go scavenge. I want to add more black and have more darker colors with this light pink. So yeah, so I'm gonna go scavenge and see what ideas come brewing, and then we will move on to the rest of the detailing. I ended up with a clown design. I painted this green guy and then this blue guy, and then it's like a little cupcake with fire. I also did a sword. Whoa, oh my gosh. So yeah, And this is how they looked. I kind of did the vertical ones like up straight, like kind of towards the side. It's like a symmetrical, asymmetrical vibe. The blue guy is a little bit higher above the green guy, so it's kind of like he's looking down at him. And yeah, I really liked how this turned out. It was really fun to do the patches, but the painting took absolutely forever. I think it was definitely worth it. For the intermediate design, I'm taking the ends off of this romper. This material is very flowy and leaves lots of room for drapery that we will be making out of elastic and a shoestring. Like I said, we need elastic, so I'm just taking some out of this top that I had. It's like a tube top. To cut off the ends, you can take these from the bottom of pants or really anything. I just held it up to my leg and kind of measured it. I didn't need to cut off a lot because this material is very stretchy. To cut off the other end, I just laid it right on top. You can get an iron if you want to be really precise, but I just laid it as flat as I could. Make sure you always leave room for your seams. And here I am taking out this elastic. You can obviously go buy elastic, but I like to use products that I already have from my house. So I'm just taking my seam ripper and I'm ripping all the seams. This took a really long time, but I wanted to make sure I didn't do any damage to the top material, so I can use that material for a different project as well as no damage to the elastic. And now I have the elastic out. I just took a lint roller just to kind of clean up all the extra threads. And now I'm just laying the elastic on top of my piece, seeing how long I need to fold and create the seam. Then we get to pinning. If you're working with a stretchy material like mine, make sure to stretch out the material and try to pin as close together as you can. This is just helpful keeping everything all even and straight. And once you have that front to back, we're gonna take her to our sewing machine. You also want to remember to leave an opening for when you feed through your elastic. Don't forget to go forwards and backwards at the start and end of your stitch. And as you can see here, I'm just pulling this material, making sure that it's all as flat as possible because this is very stretchy, but it works beautiful for the drapery. Okay, now that you have your stitch, we are going to now feed through the elastic. Also, I apologize, my camera is broken, so in some shots it's a bit blurry and yeah, my bad. So I'm just taking a safety pin and poking it through the elastic, and this made it very easy for me to just feed it through. Once you get your elastic out, I want you guys to stop here and go ahead and try this on. Measure it to your leg or whoever's size it's for. Make sure the measurements are there. I did the wrong thing. As you can see, I just pulled it as tight as possible. I don't know why I did that. I just wanted to see how ruched I can get it and didn't measure it. So this one turned out really tight. Once you get your size, just stick a pin in it. We are going to be doing a zigzag stitch straight across, holding that in place. You can cut your elastic and close your hole up. And here I am trying it on afterwards. You can already see how tight it is. This honestly kind of messed up the look for me, but I still kept it and I still rolled with it. So don't be like me and please measure before you sew up that elastic. Now we're going to be doing the bottom just like this with a shoelace. So always make sure your piece is inside out, and I apologize again for my camera quality. We're just gonna try to go with this aesthetic. It's like vintage, you know? And I really just folded this upwards and then used the other one I made to measure it. For this, it already has a seam at the bottom, so I folded it to the point where that seam was kind of in the middle of the two. And then I just went ahead and pinned right on the seam. Obviously this gap is big enough for a shoestring, it's big enough for elastic, honestly, at the bottom. So if you want to, you can just do elastic. But yeah, same thing, we're going to pin the ends and then sew a straight stitch across, leaving a hole open for you to feed through your shoestring. And here I am. To get it all the way through, you can just tie a little knot. I liked how the little shoestring bow looked at the bottom of this, and then you can close up that hole. I decided to poke 2 holes through to tie the shoestring in place. And now we're going to be doing the additive detail. I took this lace from this one blouse I had, and I just stretched it all the way out because this is ruched at the top. So I had to stretch it out a lot and just pin as close together as I could. And then I just did a little straight stitch along the top. It was kind of difficult to work with this material, but you know, you can be strong enough to pull that material apart. And this is how she looks. For the advanced design, I'm taking this knit cardigan and I just start off by draping it onto my leg. I know that I'm doing a leg warmer, but I don't know exactly the style, shape, or how it's gonna fall. So I started here by doing 2 little creases, which in the end I ended up not doing because it was gonna take way too long for me to do that, and I wanted to do something else for the exterior. Doing this, I can get my measurements right aligned to me, and then from there on we can make a pattern. Always take notes from the measurements. So here, after I'm done pinning, I'm taking my measuring tape and I'm measuring the width of the leg warmer as well as the length. I also went ahead and measured around my leg just to get an idea of how long I want the width to change, because it is obviously going to be wider at the bottom. I did everything from length, width, from the top to the bottom, and this is how my measurements turned out. And we're going to be using these notes to create a rough draft of a pattern. So you will need a ruler or a measuring tape, a pencil of course, and then your annoying cat who just loves to mess up everything you do. So here I am pushing my cat out of the way, and I'm just tracing the same measurements that I took on my notes onto my paper. So I'm doing 20 inches at the bottom. I believe the total length came up to 19 inches, and then the top are 16 inches all the way around. So you can see here, I made different markings for the creases, which didn't matter in the end because I didn't even follow that. And now I'm just taking my cardigan and lining it up, seeing which way it could fall and the measurements can line up. And I found that right in between the seam looked like a perfect place. So I just measured this all the way around to make sure that I matched up my bottom width. And it did perfectly at a 21 inches, and I wanted the bottom width to be a total of 16 to 20. Now I'm just cutting along the seam because I know that this is the piece that I'm going to use for one of my leg warmers. And it's very important, if you're going to be taking from a cardigan like I am, please make sure the previous seam that is built stays together. And then I followed the rough draft pattern of where the top should end, and and just cut straight across from that. Can't see because my crazy hair, but... And now we're going to get to pinning, and this is why keeping that seam is so important, because it's already bulky and built up, so it makes it very easy to do a stitch across and close the leg warmers together. And you don't have to do much folding really, you just have to put these two ends together and just create your new seam. And also make sure you measure the top and make sure that it matches the measurements of your calf or whatever size you would want. Unfortunately on this one I did do it a bit too big, but I ended up fixing it later. It was difficult. And once you have that, you want to do a zigzag stitch or an overlock stitch just to go right on the ends. You can see me here. I am sewing right on the end so that way it goes past and then back on top. Because you don't want to sew directly on top of knit fabric, you want to do at least a zigzag stitch on the edge if you can. The knit fabric can get eaten up inside your sewing machine sometimes, so just keep that in mind when working with this type of fabric. And here's my overlock stitch. I ended up going over this 2 more times because there were some holes and little spaces that didn't get locked up all the way. And here I am figuring out what I'm going to do for the other leg. I basically only had these 2 longer pieces from the front of the cardigan, so I just put them together, and they're both pockets, which they're different from the other leg warmers, but they still worked out. I used my other leg warmer to measure the length. You can also use your draft paper of your pattern if you want to, but I just found this easier. So here I am just lining everything up and making everything flat. And now I am cutting the length of the leg warmers. And because these leg warmers have 2 open ends, I was not able to fold an end to create a seam that way. I have to sew on both sides to close them shut. So to do this, you want to fold inwards and make sure those 2 pieces are both folded. Here is my pieces all pinned together, and you want to do a zigzag stitch along the edge. Make sure you do this on the inside. I think I accidentally did it on the outside. And here is the stitch I did. So as you can see, I did do it on the outside, and it gave this like curvy feel to it. And I also had to go over this about 2 more times just to get everything secure and in place. And now when you do your other end, you want to do the same thing as before and fold it inside out this time, and then we're going to fold the 2 pieces away from each other, creating a beautiful seam on the outside. Now that you have that all pinned, you want to go ahead and do your zigzag stitch all the way across. And voila! This also gave a curvy feel to it. And here are my 2 leg warmers. As you can see, the shapes of these 2 are completely different, especially because this end right here is folded. But honestly, with what I did with the detailing in the exterior, you can barely tell. And I'm going to be using this fur to put at the top, but before I do that, I must fold and make my top end seam. As you can see here, I have 2 bigger folds on the outside. That is just to take in the fabric even more, so that way it fits me to my size. So you want to go ahead and fold inwards and then pin all the way around. And to sew this into place, again, you want to do a zigzag stitch. So this is how the stitching came out. You can see I did the zigzag stitch at the very top, and you can see these 2 pieces are pretty bulky and they're kind of falling off, so I had to go in again and really get them hooked on to the ends of the fabric. But once I did that, I was cool to lay the fur over. It didn't really matter in the end because I was putting fur on the top. I'm using the end seam of this fur scarf to measure the length because I know for a fact that I want to cut on the end seam. Make sure you do tiny snips. I'm taking my seam ripper and I am just opening this fur up because it was sewn right on one edge to make the scarf, but I'm folding it all the way out, and now I have a long piece of fur to work with. So I lay my knit leg warmer right in the middle and fold the fur over, and then you want to take a little marker or a colored pencil and then mark where that line is, and then you want to go ahead and cut again little snips. We're back to seam ripping to get more material from the scarf, and once you have your two materials, you can go ahead and start lining it up. I'm using this Sharpie to just mark the edge because I want to leave room to sew this fur together. I left lots of seam room because you will need that for when you close it up. And now I am just folding upwards and pinning right along the edge of my leg warmer. Unfortunately, right here I went too far and I had to redo it and really line it up enough so that way it goes all the way around. And this is why I said you'll need extra room, so that way you can do that seam right there. And after you're done doing that seam, you want to get some clips and line up the edge right together so that way you can sew a zigzag stitch to close that. And also for the ends, I kind of messed up. I did one end of them completely wrong. I completely butchered it. You just want to fold upwards a good enough length to create a folded seam. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you watched all the way to the end. I know it was a very long video. It's been a long time since I uploaded, and I just want to say I am so sorry for those videos. Truly, I'm embarrassed about some of them, but you know what? I'm gonna try to just show you guys my growth and who I am now. So I'm thinking of doing like vlog style type videos, like not like vlogs, but like vlogging while I'm making things, like designing whatever we're making, instead of the voiceover more tutorial style, because I feel like it would be a lot funner. You guys can get to know me more and it won't take me as long. So thanks for watching again. Peace out.